we go. Everybody, welcome to tonight's meeting. I'm Nicholas Kane. I'll be starting off for Jerry, who will be joining us in a little while. Let me see that. Before we kick things off, I'll read the now famous statement, the governor's statement. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, signed into law by Governor Healy on March 29th, 2023, several pandemic-related relief provisions suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law were further extended until March 31st, 2025. All members of the public are invited to join the meeting virtually, either by computer, through the internet, or by phone, as noted below. If joining virtually, video and audio will be turned off for the public participants unless otherwise stipulated by the chair. There will be time for questions from the public at the end of the formal meeting. If a member of the public wishes to speak, please raise your hand in the meeting room or on your computer, and when called upon, please state your name for the meeting minutes. Thank you. All right. I guess we have a roll call to start. I have that up here as well. ROLE. Trying to use Jerry's forms to do everything. All right, everybody. I guess I will say your name, say if you're here or not, please. Justin DeMarco.
Here.
Excellent. Chris De Silva.
I'm here.
Thank you. Greg Johnson.
He's on vacation.
Excellent. Mary Branley.
Here.
Thank you. Hillary Griffiths. Brian Haas. I think he's on vacation too, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. Mike Stevens. No. I got Rob Rouleau / Karen Lindquist. I don't know if that means both or one or the other.
Sorry, Mike Stevens is here.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Thought the whole town was on vacation. So Rob or Karen, I don't know.
Not seeing either one of them. So.
Okay. Jen Gaudette. Wayne. I saw Wayne's in there. Wayne White.
Yep, I'm here.
Thank you, Wayne. Jerry's not supposed to be here. Jerry. Not yet. Mark Anderson.
Here.
Thank you. Anthony Madej.
Here.
Thank you. Matthew Johan.
Here.
All right. I myself am here. Mr. Ken Newhouser.
I'm here.
Excellent. Josh Morse.
I am here.
Excellent. Charles Gobron. Tony Savard.
Here.
Oh, excellent. Katie Moore.
Here.
Oh, okay. I've got Kevin Stone on here too. I don't know if he's a you or he. No. Not sure.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure either, but he's not here today.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Definitely enough people to consider a voting quorum. We'll my agenda kicking up over here. We're supposed to vote on the last minutes.
Want me to make a motion?
Yeah, I was looking to get the date of them. I can't remember what the exact date of the last minutes were.
It's May 20th.
All right. I will definitely take that motion.
I will make a motion that we accept the minutes of May 20th, 2024.
Do I hear a second?
Seconded.
Like Mike. Okay. Does anybody have any comments on the minutes? I mean, if Mary says they're all right, right? Excellent. We'll run right down that roll call again for the minutes. Meeting minutes. All right. Justin.
Yes.
I know you read them twice. Chris De Silva.
Yes.
Oh, Mary Branley.
Yes.
Mike Stevens.
Yes.
Wayne White.
Yes.
Thank you. Mark Anderson.
Yes.
Anthony Madej.
Yes.
Matthew Johan.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Nicholas Kane. Ken Newhouser.
Yes.
Thank you. Josh Morse.
Yes.
All right. Tony Savard.
Yes.
right, Katie Moore.
I don't think I can vote on them.
All right, N/A, I'll put down there. Excellent. This, I think that is it for sort of bookkeeping. We can jump into item 3 here. Project schedule update. I'll hand it over to Phil.
All right, thanks, Nick. So schedule update. So big picture, we're now moving on into the 60% construction document phase. We are, so our milestone to get your approval on that 60% CD set is July 29th. And then the next milestone after that would be the 90% construction document submission to MSBA. And so seeking your approval on October 28th. So those two dates are the same and haven't changed since we last met. We're now also doing the local permitting process. So we got Conservation Commission process and we got the Planning Board process. We're working to get documents signed off on, to get applications submitted. So that process is getting underway. And we're hopeful to have both of those processes completed, whether it be late August, early September, roughly. And then showing the bid set being completed by early December, December 4th. And for a more zoomed in look at the 60% construction document module, we're showing having the progress set, 60% CD progress set ready for the estimators this Thursday, June 27th. That will also be the set that the design reviews occur on. So Collier's design review, MEP commissioning design review, building envelope commissioning design review, and any design reviews that SBC members would like to do. We're showing estimates due on July 16th with the estimate reconciliation meeting happening on July 18th. And then seeking your approval on that 60% CD set on July 29th and submitting it to MSBA the next day, July 30th. MSBA has their 3-week review, and then we respond to their design review. Early site package bidding schedule. So we kind of stepped you through the bidding schedule for this package last time we met. When we met last time, we were showing the bids being due last Thursday through the bidder RFI process. We thought it'd be best if we pushed the bid out a week just to get some clarifications out to the bidders. And it's fine because there's no, it's not pushing back the completion date of the early site package such that it's going to be an adverse effect on the main building project. So it's no harm, no foul. So we got bids due this Thursday, June 27th by 2 p.m. And we're showing meeting with you all on July 8th, Monday, July 8th, to seek your approval on the low responsible bidder. And then from there, seek the select board's approval on that low responsible bidder at their July 16th meeting. And then issue a notice to proceed if all goes well with those approvals. A notice to proceed to that awarded site contractor the next day, July 17th. And is that it? Yeah, any questions on schedule update? Okay. Next agenda item is budget update. So since we last met, there's just been a few invoices inputted into the budget. We have 2 invoices from Beacon Integrated Solutions. So that's Beth Greenblatt assisting with solar design consulting. So we have one invoice in the amount of $800 and then the other one in the amount of $960. And then Collier's May invoice in the amount of $22,218.94. And so where those invoices are captured in the total project budget, you got the OPM budget line item here, paid to date going up to that 186.2K. And then within that Collier's May invoice, we submitted a reimbursable invoice. It was the advertising required for the early site package bid set. So that's in the amount of that 300 and change there, captioned in the advertising budget line item. And then Beacon Integrated Solutions, their invoices are captured in the other AE costs and paid to date going up to that 18.8K. And remainder of the budget, no changes there. Still the total project budget of 83.6, construction budget of that 66.9 million. and then paid today just going up to the 2.5 million. Any questions on the budget update? Okay. Next agenda item was to give you a little bit more of a update on the early site package bid process. So we went live on May 22nd with the bid docs. We had a pre-bid conference the following week. I want to say we had 6 site contractors attend the pre-bid conference, 6 or 7. We currently have 10 site contractors as plan holders for the bid set. You got I.W. Harding Construction out of West Bridgewater, J&J Contractors out of North Billerica, WL French Excavating out of North Billerica, Northern Construction Service out of Palmer, Mass, Marois Brothers out of Worcester, ET&L Corp out of Stowe, MDR Construction out of Tewksbury, Onyx Corp out of Acton, UEL Contractors out of Clinton, and then C9 Corp out of Bridgewater. Like I mentioned, we have the bids due this Thursday, June 27th by 2 p.m., seeking your approval on July 8th, and then going to the select board on July 16th, and then issuing the notice to proceed to the awarded bidder the next day. And then, Chris, you want to go through, Mary, you got a question?
Yeah, just a quick question. So we've got 10 quotes coming in. So how did so you had, what did you say, 6 of them that actually went on site?
So the way it works is they're plan holders. So that doesn't mean they're going to bid.
Okay.
So we won't get 10 bids on this project. Okay. They're just registered. So we're using bid docs online. So they register to be a plan holder. And when you do that, whenever there's an addendum issued, you're automatically emailed a notification that an addendum was issued. So you go on to their website and you can download the addendum. But just because they downloaded the drawings, that doesn't mean they're going to submit. So, for example, WL French, they probably won't submit. Their union, and they know there's some non-union firms that are probably going to bid on this, so their number won't be the low. And that's common. People register to be plan holders, but they don't submit a bid. That's common.
Okay, thank you.
And Phil, as an example, I know Northern Construction Service out of Palmer. They're tree people, right? So they'll probably submit a number to the contractor to removing the trees and whatnot. So you get that kind of going as well.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. And then the next few slides here, Chris, you want to just step them? Wayne, you got your hand raised. Go ahead, Wayne.
Yeah, Phil, what types of questions, if any, that came up at the pre-bid conference?
So at the pre-bid conference, we prefaced the pre-bid conference with we want their questions to be asked via the RFI process through bid docs online. So after we say that, they tend not to ask a bunch at the pre-bid conference. So I think there was maybe 2 or 3 at the pre-bid conference, and they were pretty kind of just kind of bidding logistics. They had a question on one of the bid forms. They had a question on the unit prices and how we were going to kind of evaluate those as it relates to also their bid amount. Those were kind of the major questions at the walkthrough, but since the walkthrough, there's been, RFIs asked and so some RFIs were related to wanting to see grading elevations at like where we have retaining walls being installed. Chris, you want to give them a rundown, high level?
Yeah, high level. So we had, let's say 40 RFIs, which is, in this type of package, very common. A lot of them were duplicates from various bidders because they probably didn't notice someone was submitting the same question at the same time. But a lot of the questions were based on clarifications, right? So finish elevations of retaining walls, finish grade, the elevations to which they are required to excavate down to and replace the unsuitable soils or the ledge, taking that out. Questions about, existing drawings, really not relevant because we're not nothing to do with the existing building at this point. So it's mostly clarifications about site work, things that we had in the specifications. They're trying to understand the volumes of material that they need to carry, the unit prices that they need to carry for any volume above or below what they're asking. So if we tell them to carry 20,000 yards of removal, well, we also want a unit price. So if there's less removal, the owner gets a credit at a certain price. If there's more removal, we know what to expect to have to pay them. It's just a matter of what the quantity is. So things like that, Mary, you know, it's very common with the site work because site works are typically your biggest unknowns and questions and, you know, intricacies in trying to calculate the amount of fill that's got to be brought out, you know, things about temporary roads and whatnot.
Josh, you got your hand raised?
Yeah, thank you. And I apologize if you've already sent this out, but any chance somebody could send me the unit prices that we're currently carrying in the specs?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, Mary, you got your hand raised?
Yeah, just, and it's more about logistics, so just so that everybody, because we're gonna meet on the 8th, you said, maybe this is jumping the gun a little bit, but can we, what will we receive before the 8th of July to review? Will we,
So we'll send you, you know, the bid results, so you'll get a bid tab showing where all the bids came in. And I'll get you some, our kind of evaluation on why we think whichever bidder it might be is a responsible bidder. So we got to evaluate the low bidder, and if we feel through reference checking and so on, they're not responsible, we would recommend to you that they're not a responsible bidder. And then the idea is, okay, is the second bidder a responsible bidder? Something tells me that's not going to be how it plays out. We're going to have a low bidder. I'm assuming their references will check out. They'll have a good amount of similar project experience to make us feel comfortable that we can consider them a responsible bidder. So you'll get that, and that'll be kind of what your vote is based on.
great, so you'll give that to us a few days ahead of time so that everybody, yeah, has time to review it. Thanks.
Yep. Go ahead, Josh.
Sorry about that. I said unit price. I meant your unit cost approach in the specs. Obviously, you don't know the unit prices yet.
Yeah, I do not that yet.
All right, thanks.
All good.
No problem. All right. So what we have here, what I want to do is share with everybody the early site package basic scope of work and how it's going to get laid out. So at the very top of the page, this is one of the contract drawings. Very top of the page, we've got Great Road and Tiger Drive that comes in. What we're going to do is start establishing the temporary road where the new road will actually take place. That'll come in. We have a walk-off pad, if you will, at the beginning. What that'll allow trucks and equipment to do is kind of wash down and clean the debris from their vehicles before they exit onto Tiger Drive, which will save DPW and the town a lot of money in cleaning. If there is excessive material dragged off site, we will make sure that they're responsible for cleaning that up. The goal is the dash lines that you see are kind of the limits of work. And along those limits of work, there's going to be jersey barriers and fencing to contain that work area, as well as protect the school. The jersey barriers will be located approximately 15 to 20 feet off the edge of the school building, making all of the classroom exits and student activity still safe, separating that. So if there's fire alarm, fire drills, students can still exit, parents can still walk up to pick up their children. The gate will start right after the sidewalk, making that pedestrian access still viable for parents who park in Crow Park parking lot and come up, drop their kids off, pick them up. So we've talked about this with Rob and Karen and Brian, you know, the school administration. We are going to hold another meeting in the near future with police, fire, and Justin, make sure everybody's still on the same page. Justin has been part of these meetings as well. So the next slide will show how that road continues around the back of the existing building. Again, this is the future access road that we're trying to maintain. It will be graded as such and finished, but it will not be paved. This will give this contractor and the next building contractor a good workable drive to access the site. What they will do towards the end is excavate for the utilities, regrade it, and then pave it as they move out as part of their sequencing. But what you can see is on this sheet, there's some dark lines that abut the roads. Those are the retaining walls. to help hold the grade back because we're excavating into that hillside. And it's going to be a two-tiered wall system. There'll be fencing on there to protect it. We'll provide landscaping to dress it up a little bit. What we didn't want to do is just leave the ledge exposed, because over time, as I'm sure everybody has seen, ledge becomes loose if it was blasted, and it will then, you've got it falling and everything. So we want to contain it, make it safe for the 50-year lifespan of the school and then some. So you can see how that road continues around. We are still providing a dash line around the existing building. That's where our fence line and barriers are going to be. It'll still allow access around the building. We'll make sure that fire and police understand that and have full access around. The next slide will show you how it continues around into the back. We've got the outline of the existing building dashed in. We've got the dash line showing the perimeter fencing encompassing all the site and the work. So what that road will do is that road will come in and it'll create a laydown area towards the southeast part of the site, which is the lower portion of the page. And to the left, we've got our geothermal well layout. That contractor will come in after the ledge is blasted and the contractors kind of excavated and cleaned up most of the area. They will come in and drill their wells, connect the piping to a collection box, which is shown along the side of the road, and it'll terminate there. What we do have in the contract is whoever does that install is also responsible to take that piping from the collection box and run the 2 service pipes to the new school building, which we are indeed showing so they can price up and include. And then they will be responsible for bringing those pipes in, where the HVAC contractor will eventually connect to the heating system and cooling system. What I am happy to share is the original design based on early loads and calculations. We were carrying somewhere about the 70 plus or minus geothermal wells at 600 feet. As we went through our energy model and got all that information collected and more refined, CDM Smith, who is in fact the well designer, was able to pare down the wells to about 54 wells. And that includes, future, I'll say some wells to help with the future capacity, in that when you're using geothermal wells, it will tend to increase the ground temperature around the wells a couple of degrees over 20, 30 years. So they want to make sure they compensate for that. So we've got 54 wells in here. So we're about 16 wells shy of the original plan and budget, which is very good. And we're hoping that will translate into lower bids as well. All this work is outlined in the early site package documents, which were uploaded as part of the DD set. These are just a little bit more refined as bid documents. We will update the Google Docs folder so that it includes the bid docs. I think I've done it already, but if I haven't, I'll check and make sure that they are uploaded so you have all the updated specs, the updated design documents. There's details that go along with all this information, including the retaining walls, the geothermal wells, and the scope of work that's required, as well as the earthwork and blasting and everything else. As part of this package, our geotech has included seismic monitoring, which we will monitor seismic activity on the existing school building. There are thresholds for blasting to make sure they don't exceed seismic activity. We have included as part of the requirements for the contractor to conduct a pre-existing conditions survey, which means they are required to document the existing buildings within a minimum of 250 feet from the work zone. So definitely the existing Green Meadow School. I believe the Fowler School is outside those limits. But when we have our pre-construction meeting, we can certainly discuss that with them. We want to make sure that everything's documented and monitored. We have discussed the blasting schedule with both Brian, Rob, and Karen. The contractor will be required to provide us with a blasting schedule. There will be no blasting on holidays and weekends. We have contained it to the work schedule, work days. We are going to work with Brian, Rob, and Karen that if there's any testing days and the contractor's looking to do this work, because some of this work is going to continue into the fall, in school will be in session. So we will make the contractor aware those days that, hey, quiet activities must take place during these hours on these days. So we're going to work with the staff to do that. And then one of the things Karen had suggested is the design team's going to put together some information, and Karen would like to kind of hold a school presentation at the beginning of school, so everybody in school knows what to expect. If they feel a vibration, if they hear some noise, things in that nature. So she even seems to think, you know, students will be very interested in the activities, et cetera. Not that they'll be able to see it, but it'll certainly allow everybody to be aware of what's going on. There'll be no surprises, and we'll make sure everybody's up to date on a regular basis. Any questions on our early site package scope? Josh?
Yeah, quick question, Chris. When I heard you talking about the phasing, and this might have just been how you described it. When do you think we're going to cut the geothermal well company loose to start drilling?
So that'll be, you know, Josh, that's a good question. When we get a contractor on board, within a certain period of time, he's required to provide us with, you know, the standard schedule values, you know, the work, the value of the work that he's doing, and he's required to provide us with a schedule. So it's really up to them as to when they cut them loose, but in talking with everybody, recommendations are usually these wells are done after the blasting has been completed. There's not a lot of ledge in the area where the wells take place. They're going to drill through it anyway.
Yep.
So, but we want to make sure that, you know, any of the wells, and specifically the piping that gets installed, is not disturbed. The wells are usually pretty significant, right? They drill down, they put the loop in, and then they grout
Chris,
the wells. Yep.
I just want to save the effort. I'll cut right to the chase. I'm working with Skillings right now, and to the extent that we can avoid summer months and kind of forcing them into summer months, we'll get better prices. That's the only reason I mention that, because there's so many communities out there trying to drill geothermal well systems near occupied schools that don't want to have those wells drilled while school is in session.
Right. And you know, Josh, that's a good point, because CDM Smith kind of took it from where a lot of the drillers are going to be busy during the summer months. To avoid that, we'll likely be able to take advantage of potentially a better price doing it later, because they'll be looking for work. They can do it any time of year. So if it's not a weather thing for them, but it'll really be a means and methods on their part. And hopefully that'll dictate the price.
I'm assuming based off of the time it's going to take to get them on site and then the clearing that needs to happen. I don't think this work will happen until September timeframe, maybe October or something like that. Be my guess
Perfect.
right now.
Thank you.
And given the low noise and impact to the existing school, that's better work suited when school is in versus blasting. So you get in there, get the trees removed, get the ledge out, crushed, replaced, get the wells drilled, and then hopefully close it up for our next session. Anything else? All right.
Okay. So the next agenda item 6, review and vote on MVG solar design proposal. So since we advanced into the design development phase, we always knew we were going to have to understand how we can increase the PV scope to get to as close to net zero ready as possible. Understanding that was always a goal of this committee in the town. So since the start of design development, we've been coordinating, and since that executing proposal with Beacon Integrated Solutions with Beth Greenblatt, we've been coordinating with her on trying to understand how we can get a sub-consultant designer on board to help with designing a solar PV carport system over at this red box area here. So this proposal that was sent off to you all is essentially for that. It's for the engineering and design and putting together the bid docs for a solar carport PV setup here. And so with MVG's 10% markup, the design proposal is in the amount of $9,900. Scope of service, design and engineering services for long span carport system and its required foundations. What's going to come with that is the drawings and specs required for the bidding purposes of it. And then, you know, the drawings and specs got to be in compliance with mass bidding laws. And so this is a vendor that, and we coordinated with the AG's office to make sure we're doing things by the book, crossing our T's, dotting our I's. So we're all good there. And this is a vendor that can put together a scope of work that can be matched by multiple manufacturers. It's not a proprietary system. And this is a good way for us to get some additional PV scope on the project. Any questions on this? Go ahead, Mary. Yeah, you muted, Mary.
Sorry. And Beth was good with this company. She's worked with them before, or?
Yeah, she's done this with them before. Yeah, she recommended them. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, Josh.
Yeah, just real quick, and it might be getting a little ahead of ourselves, but to the extent that we can, let's try to keep, just my opinion, let's try to keep as much of the scope of this work out of Miss Metals and in steel as possible. Miss Metals is just croaking us right now on all our bids.
Yeah, no, I spoke with Debbie Anderson before she went on leave, and because this is separated from the building, it'll be structural steel. It won't be Miss Metals.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So if there aren't any other, and so, oh, I'm sorry. Let me show you where this is going to come out of budget wise. So, other AE costs is the budget where it will come out of. So we're budgeting 100K for this total budget line item. We already got Beacon integrated in there, as well as the ad services associated with moving the grade K through 3 playground. So right now we're contracted to date for 73.6K of this 100K. So this $9,900 proposal will come out of that remaining budget amount. Any other questions? Go ahead, Nick.
I think the original design we talked about having, like, I think just trenching from the building out to the parking lot in front. Is that as far as we're taking solar preparedness to the lot sort of between the two playgrounds?
Chris, you want to speak to that? So I know the intent with this scope, the scope that's on the screen is have this engineered, have it biddable, but have it be like an ad alternate. And for out here, I don't know what the plan is.
Long enough ago, that was the only lot big enough to be worth it. Both lots, it looks like they changed sizes enough. So maybe the one that's lot 7 that's shown now with the square with the rectangle on it might be all we need. I'll leave it to Krista.
But well, my recollection is we talked about both, and I feel like I remember folks saying, you know, having a carport system here blocking the front facade of this brand new beautiful building is probably not the best idea. That's what I remember, and I don't know if we kind of left it there or what, Chris. What?
Yeah, so Phil, you're exactly right, and I specifically remember the chair of the school committee made that comment in one of the community forums. But what we can do, Nick, you know, since we're going to be working on this carport design, and we're working with Beth and Select, who is the town's current solar provider for the high school and middle school, one of the things we can do as we get further along, if we feel that this carport along with the roof will not get us to net zero, we can put in as part of the documents conduit to the front for the future, right? Infrastructure, so that they're tag marked buried. If down the road the town does decide, look, we really want to get to a complete net zero, and we're okay with doing a structure in front, maybe it's a minimal one, you've got the conduit there. We can certainly put that in.
Excellent. Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
I will say this though,
Plaza. Yeah.
If I could just piggyback on that, Nick, one of the things that Beth did talk about, you know, with her experiences, The further away you get with these solar carports and panels, the more transformers you need because you're losing line voltage, getting the energy back to the electrical room. This current one where it's located is right across from the electrical room, which is just above that item number 2. So very close proximity makes it very efficient. The further away you get, you lose some efficiencies, but we will make sure that we can get conduit in at the very least.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Could you go back to that other slide that showed the possible plan but not yet contract, just so we
Yeah.
we get an idea of what's coming up. Okay. Yep, useful. All right, so we have looks like you have a line in there for the structural peer review.
Yeah, that's coming up next, the next agenda item. Yeah. So
Okay.
with the 2 of those added to this budget item, you'll have 12.9K remaining in this budget.
Okay. Or
And
less,
just
depending on the next item.
what's that?
Or less, depending on the next item. But either way, not a whole lot. So we should keep that in mind.
Yeah, but and just so folks know, and I'll go back to the total project budget. There will be some other soft cost budget line items that, in the event we got to add money to this other AE budget line item, we'll be able to.
Okay.
But yeah, I feel comfortable where we're at with this budget line item.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, nearly 20 wells worth of slush now, right? Kind of, sort of.
Yeah, there you go. Josh?
Actually, that was a perfect segue. So one thing I might suggest, if I think the intent was to design this as an add alternate, we're going to get a much better price if it's in the base, if we can afford it. And with the wells that we just clipped off, I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest that it could probably be close to a wash. So if in the next cost estimate, it looks like we can afford it, I would recommend rolling this into the base and pick up some buyout savings.
Yeah. That can happen. Mary?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to have the conduit, Chris, for the future for the front. When we first did the high school canopy, of course, everybody's thought the same thing about, how it was going to be ugly and in front of the high school, and it's perfectly fine. So I think that's a great, great thing for down the road. The question I've got is, and we did this with the high school canopy, is we put in conduit for the future use of electric cars. Is that something that goes into the bid, or is that, I mean, it was very short money to have the conduit there so that then down the road we can, add that. Didn't know if that was part of this proposal.
Yeah, so
Well,
we
go ahead, Chris.
excuse me. We do have 4 EV charging stations as part of the base bid, and we will have conduit for additional EVs. So when they come out the building, then we'll branch off that. So as EVs become more popular, as the demand becomes larger, yeah, the infrastructure is there to pull the wire to connect them.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So if there aren't any other questions, we'll take a motion.
You want me to do it?
I think there's a
Don't
certain
mess it
gentleman who's
up.
finally showed up who should start something here.
I'll make a motion.
Jerry.
Oh, Jerry is, Jerry, why don't you make the motion?
Well, if Nick's gonna run the meeting, then I can make a motion. Because
Go
I'm
for
not
it.
running, I'm not running the meeting. I move that we approve MVG solar design proposal as presented at a cost estimate of $9,900.
I can second.
Excellent. I'll do some votes, and I got to read more names now.
Yeah.
Mr. DeMarco.
Yes.
Thank you. Krista Silva.
Yes.
Mary Branley.
Yes.
Mike Stevens.
Yes.
All right. Jen Gaudette. She didn't show up, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you did. Okay. Like I said, more names. Wayne White.
Yes.
Thank you. Jerry Colbert.
Yes.
Yes. Mark Anderson.
Yes, sorry, fighting with my mute button.
Thank you. Anthony Madang.
Yes.
Thank you. Matthew Johann.
Yes.
Thank you. Myself, Nicholas Kane, I say yes. Ken Newhouser.
Yes.
Thank you. Josh Morse.
Yes.
Thank you. Tony Savard. I don't leave
Yes.
member, not Katie Moore. Katie was
Oh,
here.
sorry, I don't think I can vote, right?
Yeah, Katie's not a voting
Yeah.
member.
I gotta blame
Yeah.
Jerry for giving me the long list. Okay.
But when you look at the long list, if you look to the left, there's X marks.
That's what that is? I thought that was like attendance from the
That's-
last time. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's the voting members. Sorry. That's okay. And Charles Gordon, Charles Cabron, got a hold of me about 5 o'clock. Said he was tied up and would not make the meeting. Just so you know.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you. I believe that passes.
Okay,
then
great. Thank
some.
you, guys. Okay, next agenda item 7, review and vote on structural peer review proposal. So structural peer review is required per the building code. And so it's at the 60% construction document mark, which we're at now, where we have a structural peer review happen. So the awarded engineering firm will review MVG structural drawings and specs. So it's a review of the design load criteria, review of lateral load resisting system, review of load paths, review the structural members and assemblies, structural connections, foundation elements, project specs, and then the end deliverables, a written report. And there'll be a lot of communication between the peer review engineer and MVG structural engineer to make sure that peer review engineer knows what they need to know and is looking at everything they got to look at. So we seeked out proposals from, I want to say it was 4 or 5 engineering firms, and only 2 got us proposals. We got one from SGH in the amount of, I want to say it was like 12,000, and then we got one from DM Berg in the amount of 3,500. I did confirm they're apples to apples. There isn't missing scope in this proposal that is a lower number. Sometimes that happens. You have engineering firms that are just more pricey. But we feel comfortable that this proposal covers the scope it needs to cover. We have no issues recommending it for approval. Any questions? Josh?
I'll move approval when the committee's ready.
Nick?
Yeah. Is there another review that happens again, or is it just a one-off at this 60%?
It's just this one.
No more questions?
I'd second that. I'd second the motion that Josh just moved on.
This is just a repeat of the other slide I showed, just showing pulling it out of this other AE budget line item.
All right. So I guess that's nobody has any more questions. So we'll consider Josh having moved it and Jerry having seconded to approve this DM Burke Consultants proposal for structural peer review at $3,500. All right. Peer. Okay. I will go down the list again. It's quite the votes this time. Justin DeMarco.
Yes.
Thank you. Krista Silva.
Yes.
All right. Mary Branley.
Yes.
Mike Stevens.
Yes.
Jen Gaudette.
Yes.
Wayne White.
Yes.
Jerry Culbert.
Yes.
Mark Anderson.
Yes.
Anthony Madej.
Yes.
Matthew Johann.
Yes.
All right. Nicholas Kane, I am a yes. Ken Newhouser.
Yes.
All right. And Josh Morse.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Next agenda item, design review update. Chris, take it away.
All right. So we are in the 60% construction document submission mode. As Phil mentioned, our final submission to MSBA will be on July 29th. We'll wait 3 weeks. We'll get our review comments from them. At this part of the stage, as everybody knows, our design development has gone through. There were no changes in the design, from schematic design through design developments. We're just tweaking a few things. But everything from design development on through is basically just refining the scope of the design, coordinating a lot of the systems, that type of thing. We did receive the design development review comments from MSBA a little over a week ago. We did have a brief meeting with Alicia from, right, Alyssa from MSBA. She did bring up a couple of key items that they found. One was, for example, we made mention in the design development narratives, et cetera, that we were doing an early site package, but they did not see the early site package in the document folders. So we'll respond to those comments. They were there, they were issued. It's just an oversight on their part. And one of the other comments she had was with regards to the DESI submission done in schematic design. When we do the design development submission, we kind of add those documents to this submission. Unfortunately, one of the spaces did not get colored, indicating it was not a DESI space, but in fact, it was continuing to be a DESI space. There were no changes. So I looked at that and confirmed that. So these are some of the things that they had. A lot of it was clarifications. There were no egregious comments about, concerns with the design or not meeting the criteria that, we've been submitting or that the committee's voted on. So we are in the process of providing a formal response to them. We are going to have a meeting with them, I believe, on the 10th. We'll give them a quick presentation on what we've been doing since schematic design through design development. We'll talk about some of the things we've done, and I'll share some of that with you. Part of that is going to be, we'll talk about the follow-up district meetings we've had. And basically, these meetings were the school administration, Brian, Rob, Karen, some of the key school, the Green Meadow School departments, music, art, PE, special education, pre-K, K, the nurse. All these things, we brought the latest plans, confirmed that what we've done since schematic design is still holding true. All of the spaces, there were no changes. They liked how things continue to progress. They're excited about, what is being implemented in the new school building compared to the facilities they have with, the bright rooms, the adequate lighting, natural daylight. The heating, air conditioning is a concern. I'm sure with every school that's old and can't maintain, the conditions, the ventilation. Just having the appropriate toilet facilities for their pre-K and K-age students and how they address and have to handle the needs of the younger school-age children. So it was very positive. We spent pretty much the entire day with the team. Karen took us around to some of the different departments to show us, again, some of the changes that have been made from a programming standpoint and how that the facilities we're providing or design will continue to meet those changes. And as we explained to the various stakeholders within the school, your program is going to continue to evolve as it has over the last 40, 50 years. And it's continue to evolve over the next 40. What we try to do in response to MSBA's requirement is to provide you with very flexible spaces so that your program can continue to evolve, right? At the pre-K, the K level, the first through third grade, we're providing those spaces, the OT-PT rooms. So as your benefits that you're providing for your children will still, the building will still be adequate to do that. So they were very excited about that. That went well. We met Tony, the new facilities director, and kind of ran through the finishes, the systems that are being implemented, the fact that this is an all-electric building, geothermal, very efficient, and a lot of the low-maintenance finishes, like tile on the walls, linoleum in a classroom, sheet vinyl products, that type of thing. The main entrance, right? We currently have terrazzo planed in the cafeteria. That, from a facility standpoint, is very exciting because there's nothing you have to do. You wash it, and it'll look the same, in 30, 40 years. Whereas if it's, different other products, there's maintenance that required. We all know how VCT is. In the summer, everybody scrambles to get furniture out of the classrooms, strip it, wax it, maintain it, repair it, and then get everything back in a timely fashion. So some of the products we're using are going to help with that and reduce, hopefully, the maintenance budget over the years to come. We met with the new food service people, and some of these things I'll share with you in a graphic view as well. So it's the same company, but some of the individuals that we met with early on to talk about the kitchen equipment, the layout, and how it's going to function, that has changed. So we met with them again a couple of weeks ago. We got some feedback. We're happy to say that the equipment hasn't changed. So all of the different cooking equipment, the freezer, walk-in, and storage, that all remains well. What this group wanted to do is just rearrange a couple of pieces on how they feel the kitchen's going to flow efficiently from the cooking, the prep to the cooking area to the serving area. And I'll explain some of those things graphically on the next coming slides. So that was a good meeting. And then last week we had a follow-up working group meeting. So with that working group, it was basically the building and site group, which are here tonight. We reviewed the early site package scope of work, as I explained early on. And then we reviewed some of Nick and Ken's design development review comments. So during that week or so that they had, Nick and Ken graciously provided us with review comments. We provided responses back to them. I think everybody got copied on those responses, and we did go through them. I believe the outcome was that they were happy with the responses. A lot of the comments involved items and features and things that are coming in the upcoming submissions, the clarifications, the details, but all good questions nonetheless. We want to make sure that we don't miss anything. Ken had more robust comments regarding the systems, how they operate, some of the things, between the air conditioning and heating. We did fill in some of the gaps because some of the documents that they were looking for, especially Ken, didn't get uploaded till late in the process because it takes a lot of time coordinating everything, and they're usually uploaded just before submission. So we provided those. I believe that the outcome was very positive. We've got a few more things to address and to continue to review. So we're going in the right direction from the design team standpoint. I don't know if Nick or Ken, you want to add anything on your take? I know Ken did provide us with an update over the weekend. We're going to address any of those updates and continue to work to that end. And we'll continue to have these meetings through the 60% and 90% to make sure that, like everything else, we've crossed all the T's, dotted the I's, made sure this group is in the know. So when people in town ask about it, everybody here can be informed and provide information. Nick, Ken, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. I'll just add that even though it seemed like a lot of comments and review, I can assure you, this was many fewer items than I typically have on the projects that I look at in my day job. So, hats off to the team for that. Also looking at the report from the green engineer, that was really encouraging, a few things that they noted. And I will say also some really nice moves on the part of the design relative to systems, and the demand control ventilation is, I think, going to help out tremendously. So there's some good things there. There's also things that I would continue to lean in on. As we really, this is our the last push. So I welcome an opportunity for some back and forth and some dialogue on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nick, anything?
No, nothing. I don't think I have to pull up any specifics. I think the biggest thing I did was get ahead of the game, is basically what was most of my responses from you guys was, Nick, we're going to do that. Nick, that just isn't on the drawings yet. We're going to get there. So I was like, okay, I get it. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I love seeing progress, and I get excited about big fat stack of drawings. So that's what I did is I dug into them a lot and asked probably not too many questions, but some questions. But it's exciting.
Well,
I like it.
we're going to provide you with a bigger stack of drawings as we move on. So
That was just
be prepared.
60%. I get it.
Yeah. So I want to share some of the progress things we're working on. And what we'll do is we'll continue to add a few drawings at each meeting, things, how the progression's coming relative to some of the comments and meetings we've been having, that sort of thing. So the first one I wanted to share was, so this is our current roof plan. The shaded areas are the PV areas that we have planned, and we've been kind of jockeying equipment, kind of grouping things to make sure we've got as much real estate as we can, so that when Select comes on board, they can populate this with as many PVs as possible. But in the upper left-hand corner on the low building, I did have them in red, but they're in black. You can see these are areas that are currently not shaded, but they are planned for PVs. So we're currently working out how we're going to, run our mechanical equipment through the roof, where we have vents and stacks, for the equipment. So all those areas where you see a big rectangle, and there's a few of them, where it's not shaded, we are going to provide PVs. Once we now have, as we move forward, we're going to get Select, try to get a couple of meetings with them, give them some preliminary information, knowing that they're going to be the preferred town's vendor, get them looking at things. Maybe there's some suggestions we can get from them and grouping things, make sure that we're doing it as efficiently. Some things may not be able to be removed just by nature of the construction, but we're going to try and maximize our efforts and get their input to the best available. The next drawing, the kitchen. So this is the kitchen we've been working with, our kitchen designer as well as Maynard's food service provider. So as I mentioned, the layout really didn't change, but there's a couple things that will. So you can see the kind of the upper portion is where we've got our walk-in cooler, our walk-in freezer, and our dry goods storage. Directly below that is going to be the cooking line, right? It's kind of in the back, away from the serving. Things kind of take place there on either side of the cooking. So just below that, there's prep. So there's a large prep area just below in the middle of the kitchen, and to the right where Phil's pointing. So both those locations, a lot of prep going on. And from there, the prep can go from there to the cook, and then from the cook back to the prep. There's going to be some hot and cold proofers. Will allow them to transfer it then to the serving line, which is kind of towards the bottom. There will be 2 serving lines. We're going to rearrange the door system between the kitchen and the cafetorium to be a little bit better functional for the kids, knowing that this is a very early age group. They're very young, and we really want to make sure they have a very efficient way of getting in, getting their meals, and getting out without, there's confusion. There's, hey, these kids are here, I'm going to go talk to them while they're getting food, but yet I'm not really in line, and how that can kind of gum things up. So we're working on that with the food service providers and some of the suggestions they have. To the left of all this is kind of the dishwash area, the pot sink, where all the prep, I shouldn't say prep, but all the cleaning and servicing, storage of cooking wares and trays will be, and then kind of work back out. Above that, we've got 2 toilet rooms for the kitchen staff and the custodial staff. One of them is locked inside the kitchen, and above that is the kitchen office. So right now, our kitchen's very efficient, given the square foot space that MSBA allows and the nature of how we're trying to maintain a very efficient building in general. So kitchen staff was very pleased with the selections. They understand it's an all-electric kitchen. Really didn't have much in the way of comments other than, hey, we'd like to move a proofer here and a prep table there. Minor things. It's very flexible. We have plenty of electric for their, mixers and food processors and things like that. There really wasn't anything from the meeting that we gathered that they wanted to take from the existing school, knowing that the existing school is primarily a prep and warming area. They don't really, kind of cook the food there. So in all, an outcome, it was very good. Good meeting, great feedback, minimal changes to a couple of arrangements, but the space is intact as it is. Any questions about the kitchen? Okay. So next slide. What we've got here depicted are a couple of building sections, kind of show the relationship of how everything's working. So the upper one is basically cut right through the pre-K wing. So like a piece of cake, cut it in half, open it up. What do you see? We've got corridors right down the middle with our rooftop units directly above that to help mitigate sound. Bring our ductwork down directly into the corridors and run them out and disperse branches out into the individual classrooms. So you can see how the classrooms are on either side, and the first floor, a little bit more space for the pre-K and kindergarten wings. So it's really laid out well. We've got sufficient room or floor to ceiling space. And then right now we've got sufficient space between the ceiling and the roof or floor deck to run our piping, to run our ductwork, etc. Given that these are chilled beams and whatnot, it's going to be a very efficient space. We don't have to worry about, creating exceptional or different soffits and conditions. Things are looking pretty good right now through our coordination process. The lower portion, I want to show people what a cut through basically the cafetorium, gymnasium, stage, and then kind of the music area. So the stage area where Phil's pointing to is a high space. There will be some curtains. There will be some battens that will have lighting on them. None of the curtains are movable on the stage. You can retract them back and forth, but they will not go up and down like you might find in a high school stage area where you've got more intense theater programs and whatnot. The main curtain in the front will be motor operated for opening and closing, but it will give you a pretty good production area for an elementary school. Right off that is the cafetorium. You can see in the background, we've got overhead doors that open to the serving area. There are clear story windows above with motorized shades, again, to allow natural light into the space. But yeah, if there is a production, the shades can be lowered to darken the space. There are some acoustical ceiling panels. I'll show you at one of the next meetings, our ceiling layout. And then there's kind of a design on the wall. Those are acoustical panels. We're working with Susan and the interiors group. We'll be looking to present that information to you, but kind of have a fun and elementary look to the acoustical layouts with colors, maybe some designs in them or shapes. So that's not a bland, it's a fun space. It's for the early childhood group. It stimulates them. And it provides a nice community space for meetings and whatnot. As you move a little bit to the right of that, you're going to see windows, kind of clear story area. That view right there will give everybody in the cafetorium a view out to the plaza where you have the raised planters, the back area where you've got the lawn space where the geothermal wells are located underneath. So it'll give you a nice view, and that view will be visible right from the main lobby, from the vestibule into the lobby through the cafetorium. So when you come to the front door, you will get a clear view all the way through. So it gives you nice natural light in the space. It gives you a nice relationship. It doesn't make the lobby seem all cluttered. So it's kind of a nice design. It'll be all triple pane thermal windows, very efficient. It's in our energy model calculations, but it makes the space special. To the right of that, we've got the moving operable partition, and then the gymnasium. You can see there will be 6 basketball hoops, which are retractable, 2 main court, 4 side court. And in the middle of all that will be a roll down curtain, so you can actually hold 2 gym classes. There's a scoreboard for youth activities, adults, if you're having youth and adult leagues at night. Everything's there. The acoustical panels, again, clear story. These clear story face south, so you're going to get a lot of natural light. Again, we will have motorized shades on them. The backstops for the basketball group, they're adjustable vertically. I believe they go 10 feet, which is regulation, down to, I know, at least 7 feet or 8 feet. They're manually adjustable and they are motorized retractable. So the side hoops can be retracted up if you do have the adult leagues at night or some other activity. Below, you're going to see crash pads around the perimeter. Obviously for kids in gym and other athletics, it's going to protect the walls and the kids. What you don't see on this view, because it's on an opposite view, which will show you, is a portable rock climbing wall. So for the age group, and it only goes up, 8 to 10 feet. It's got crash pads that fold down on the floor. So if kids fall, very popular with elementary in motor skills and kind of the athletic skills. It is something that was requested by the PE teacher. We went through all this with the PE and the music and art groups, using the spaces. Everybody so far has been very positive about what they're seeing. So that's been a very good thing for our group, knowing that we're designing in the right direction for Maynard's current and future needs. And then I think our last slide, I want to include this because one of Nick's comments and things, and I think it was a good one, is future electrical needs, right? Because our exterior wall has studs, we have spray foam insulation in it to help meet the R values and requirements for the energy code. The exterior wall does not have room for future electrical. However, all of our exterior walls have casework. They have thin tube radiation behind them. And we do have outlets on either end. So given that if we did need future, there is room to run electrical wiring behind the casework and come up above in between the windows if needed. But I think what we've got here is plenty of electrical on that wall. And then all the interior spaces, you can see the electrical, the TVH and TVLs on the main wall for our displays and teacher locations. Those are all multiple quad boxes. We have outlets on the countertops for equipment and charging stations for Chromebooks and iPads and things that are there as well in the back of the room. One of the concerns we do want to be careful about with the new energy code and everything is plug loads, right? We are now required to reduce our plug loads when not operating. So like overnight, they got to be shut down. That all helps in energy conservation, especially when you're in an all-electric building. So we want to make sure we're providing them where needed, where equipment's anticipated in talking with the staff, but we don't have them everywhere where I think someone mentioned during the meeting, staff can come in and start plugging in fans and portable heaters and all sorts of equipment that you really don't want or need in an all-electric building that's trying to conserve energy. But Nick, I just want to provide this just so you have an idea. There is the option for future edition, but we think we've got it pretty well covered.
Yeah, but if you're gonna put like a roller shade in the future, you have to like, do a little bit of cutting from the ceiling to bring the power down to whatever the window head is. And it's pretty far-fetched, but I think this is a good amount of flexibility for the
Yeah.
average sort of lifespan of things that come and go in a building. Inside
Right,
the
and all of our
interior walls.
roller shades are manually operated in the classrooms because they are reachable.
Mhm.
Our displays, we don't have any motorized, projection screens because we're going to have the flat panel displays that the technology director has recommended. Those are becoming the new norm, if you will. The short throw projectors are going by the wayside. There's maybe one. I think Epson might be the only manufacturer now, and they're just hard to get a hold of. But yeah, we've talked with the staff. We've, and Maynard's not unique in the sense we try to take everything from all our projects. And even if we hear about something in other districts, we try to talk to the staff in this district about the same thing about, okay, hey, this district is doing this. Is it something you might need in the future? Do you anticipate these types of things in your programs? And then try to give Maynard the best and greatest and then just keep building on it project to project. So we did review this with the staff. You're talking about the needs. So I think we've got it pretty well covered. I think that's everything. If anybody's got any questions.
I do have one quick comment. Oh, no, Ken's first. Go ahead.
All right. Thanks, Nick. Chris, I was going to ask if you can go back to the section drawings again.
That's where I
And,
was going.
So I was going to ask, gosh, a couple questions there, but looks like we have, like you say, pretty good plenum space over the corridor.
Mhm.
I don't know if we know how much that is, but that looks healthy. Do you have a guess on what we have up there? What kind of room?
Yeah, so typically in the corridors, I know we got 10-foot ceilings in the classrooms. The corridors are probably about 9 feet or so. And then
Okay.
we've got a 14-foot floor to floor. So you've got about 4 to 5 feet below structure.
Yeah. Okay, so that's nice and healthy there. And when you were looking at your daylighting, did you find you have any benefit from sloping your ceiling to get better throw to the interior of the space?
Yeah, so Ken, we've done that in other projects where you would slope the ceiling at the windows, use light shelves and everything else to get more daylight in.
Mhm.
What we found, and we just done this in another project recently, under the new energy code, trying to maintain a certain amount of natural daylighting, but reducing the height and fall within that balance. We found that sloping the ceilings wasn't needed as much to move
Okay.
the daylighting. We do have some side lights at the doors that'll help transfer some of that natural light. But I will say this, the new energy code, as good as it is changing some of the things in how we do it. If you've got to reduce the amount of fenestration openings to balance natural daylighting and passing Teddy and reducing loads, we would rather keep the width a little bit and reduce the height because kids want to be able to see out, and more visibility on a horizontal level is better than trying to capture it high, and sloping the ceilings and reflect it in. And it saves a little money because then we don't have to provide the light shelves on the inside. Our lighting is kind of up and down lighting, controllable. So we're going to get reflectance off the ceilings to help, with the loads there. So yeah, there's some trade-offs that we're still, project to project kind of going through with the new energy code.
Yeah, because they're certainly very deep spaces, and
Mhm.
without a very tall window, it's difficult to get daylight deep into a space.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
and as you know, having them high with the light shelf allowed that light to reflect back onto the ceiling, get it deeper in.
Mhm.
But our choice is we can go with narrower and taller windows or wider, shorter windows. So there's that balance we're trying to achieve, given its early childhood, um, and the fact that adding with all the light shelves, and here's the other caveat to that, Ken, if I may. When we used to do aluminum framing, we were able to support our light shelves and our exterior brise soleils, which are the shades, on a curtain wall system because it's engineered to carry that load. When you change to meet the energy code, we're no longer using aluminum windows because of the thermal conductivity. So we're going to fiberglass or polymers, and those can't support those loads. So now you've got to attach them to the walls. On the interior, probably not a huge deal. But when you get to the exterior, you're trying to also reduce the amount of penetrations inside and the structure. So that changes your thought on that process and the cost as well. So we've been going through it little by little. We find that right now this is a good balance. But I get your point 100%.
Yeah, I thought it was worth asking. It's one of the things that we took from the tour of the Gates Elementary School in Acton, where they
Yep.
they did highlight, and I couldn't believe when they told us it didn't cost them any more to slope it. But
Yeah.
I guess it's if you get somebody on a Monday morning after the Super Bowl, they're going to be sloping the ceiling anyway.
Yeah. And Ken, a lot of our schools in the past, the Ludlow School, Marlboro, I know those are the ones you guys have toured. Those have sloped ceilings at the windows, right? They're all pre-stretch code, updated energy code buildings. So it was a lot easier to accommodate that with some of the, the window systems. Right now, I think we've got to wait until some of the manufacturers catch up with how they can support and offer products. Maybe a fiberglass sunshade on the inside or exterior, and how they have to reinforce their products to support those loads. So we're getting there, but industry is going to continue to catch up to what the new code is driving, I think.
Nick?
Yeah, my question's actually a question as much as a comment. Outside that nice tall stretch of hung windows you have there, I have to look at the site plan. The generator and like the potential battery storage are right there on the other side of that plaza you're talking about. Maybe we should try and either screen that the best we can or find a new home for it so that all those windows right there aren't looking across the street at a chain link fence.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look, Nick, but I believe those units are more further to the left of that curtain wall system, and they're around the corner. I'm not sure, and I'll check the sight lines, obviously.
I'm looking at the older drawings. I don't know when the electric site plans got done up, but
Oh, yeah, okay, so you're right. So they are looking out. So we're gonna have to look at that. We'll study that a little bit further. Unfortunately, screening is certainly an option.
they don't like to screen generators too much because I like to get to them.
Yeah, and a lot of the newer ones are, because of the storage tank underneath, they're coming with platforms to access them. We'll take a look, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, right there, it's close to the electric room, it's close to the equipment, and
Yeah, it's
so
not the
that
wrong
makes,
spot.
yeah.
That's
We would either, yeah, we'll have to look at that. Any other questions?
This is Mike. I have a question. First of all, I just wanted to thank Nick and Ken for the amount of time and effort that they put into this process for the review. I think it's an extraordinary amount of work, and it doesn't go unappreciated. So thank you very much. One question, forgive me if this has already been answered at a previous time, it has to do with the HVAC system, and I appreciate the comment that was made earlier that a lot's still being worked on this. Is it possible that in the zoning of the heating and cooling in the building, is it completely independent within each room? So if you've got one room, let's take an extreme, one room where they, for whatever reason, need it to be really cool and the next room to be much warmer, is that possible under the current design?
So our current design provides controls for flexibility to a certain extent, Mike. As an example, the heating and cooling system is going to be zoned in certain ways, but it's either going to be in a heating mode or a cooling mode at this point, right? And you bring up a good question, because I know Ken brought it up as well at our working group meeting. We had our HVAC designer on board, and hopefully I can explain it just as well. So basically, you're going to the building's either going to call for heating or cooling in its entirety. So from, let's say, late April to early fall, it's going to be cooling mode. From fall to spring, it's going to be heating mode. The occupants are going to have the ability from room to room. There's going to be a set point that says this is what our thermostat's going to be set at. However, they're going to have a slight ability to adjust that, maybe 2 degrees up or 2 degrees down. The building is going to be insulated throughout the same, so there should not be a need from one room to another to adjust more than a 4-degree differential. Now, granted, occupants, some people like a little cooler, a little bit warmer, but in order to maintain the efficiency, it's really desirable to keep that spread within reason. Now, one of the things we did discuss in the working group is, what about those times a year? We get them early, late winter, we're in heating mode. We get that stretch of, hey, it's nice out. It's 60 something degrees for a couple of days, and we're all out enjoying, weather without a coat on. So two things happen. One is the building is well insulated and hopefully will not transfer that big difference immediately. But one of the things we would do is when we're working with the facilities staff, and this goes on with a lot of buildings, is in anticipation, the weatherman comes out and says, hey, you know, the end of the week, we're going to be experiencing some warmer weather. And here it is July. I'm sorry, January. So the facilities director will have the ability to make adjustment in advance, in anticipation. Maybe at the beginning of the day, they don't fire up the heat as early. They allow the building to maintain a temperature in anticipation to get ahead of what that temperature differential would be. I know in some school districts, and Ken made mention of Ludlow when we were at the earlier meeting, you know, they don't have full air conditioning, they have displacement. And what a lot of districts will do is in anticipation of these off days is facilities will accommodate that with adjusting the equipment to start maybe providing a little cooling or less heat. Or they start the systems a little earlier or later. Just like as an example, and again, I want to reiterate, the building is well designed. If you know you're going to have a couple of days where, hey, temperatures are going to be in the, you know, single digits, we get those cold snaps, we get those heating snaps. Facilities always has the opportunity to get the systems going a little bit earlier in anticipation of those needs. So there's flexibility in the systems. It's based on a two-pipe system that everybody kind of selected early on for its efficiencies and costs. And there are ways to help maintain that for the off days that may occur. So hopefully, Mike, that helps. There is a little bit of adjustment in the system. If you find that continually the building's so well insulated, you need less heat, more cooling, then maybe the set points are adjusted somewhere down the road to meet the district's needs. If in fact that's the way the environment's going, and in 50 years you're going to have those needs, you're going to require more air conditioning than you are heating days. So the system has the capabilities of providing both, but not simultaneously, where one room can be air conditioned and the other occupant next room can be calling for heat. There shouldn't be that much difference between room to room in the building. I know Green Meadow now probably has that, where, you know, because it's age, heating is not working in one room, but it's working too much in another. I'm sure that's a concern, but we shouldn't have too much of that here.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Josh, and then Ken.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, you know, from a building operation standpoint, the other thing that operators have, like, for instance, Mike, if you have a student or a staff with an autoimmune disease or inability to regulate body temperature, there are things that you can do. Obviously, you can play around a little bit with unique spaces from a temperature set point standpoint, but you can also play around with the fresh air that's introduced, especially during the winter and summer. So there's ways to manipulate the system slightly to accommodate personal needs like that. It's far easier like in an office where it's a single person or a small group of people, but it to some extent can be done in the classrooms too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I asked partly because, you know, being very aware that the heat sensitivity of a 7 or 8 year old child can be quite different from a 50 or 60-year-old adult. So just in terms of adjusting to individual needs. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. And one, you know, Josh brings up a good point, and our HVAC engineer did discuss this. The amount of ventilation in this building and dehumidification just based on a system. So not are you providing the heating and cooling, but you're providing dehumidified air and a lot of fresh air. So you know, Josh is right on how the systems can be manipulated to make sure the comfort is maintained.
Thank you.
Ken?
Right. And Chris, I may be following that point you were just making there. So trying to get my head around, but I'm looking at the responses there about 2-pipe, 4-pipe. I believe that the DOAS units and the rooftop units, those are all 4-pipe systems, from what I understand.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
that's how we get to the building may be in heating mode, but there is still chilled water going up to the air handlers to provide dehumidification. And if needed, we can send maybe cooler than neutral air through those systems. Is that what you were suggesting about the flexibility on the ventilation side?
A little bit, Ken.
right.
So you're absolutely right. There's a 4-pipe system in the units to be able to deliver that heating or cooling. It's how it gets delivered to the individual spaces through the 2-pipe system.
Mhm.
So I think Tyler mentioned it pretty well that while even if in heating mode, if you're delivering a little bit more dehumidified air, it's going to feel a little cooler, right? And this is how Ludlow, Maynard, not Maynard, but Marlboro, their air displacement systems work. So even in heating mode, because they don't have air conditioning in the classrooms, you're providing more dehumidified air, which is how basically an air conditioner works, right? You're dehumidifying. That's going to help provide a more comfortable air to the systems, and that's going to be continuous to the extent possible, because we don't want humidity in the classrooms. With the chilled beams, they will produce condensation. So it's very crucial that that air is dehumidified to the extent needed.
All right. I think, Chris, this is getting me closer to understanding things and confirming that how it's working. This is making more sense, and so I would understand that this discharge air temperature from the rooftop units and DOAS units is something that can be independent of the set point in the classrooms. So
Yeah, based
that's
on the
one way
need.
of, right? So if we have a limit of our set point can't go below 72, but we can supply air at 68 degrees, and that all the other temperatures can reheat that air, and one classroom could let it come in cooler and help cool down a bit.
Yeah,
So
and you know, the other thing, Ken, is once the school's operational, right, facilities will be able to go in there, you know, because there's going to be commissioning that's going to take place, trending, and the commissioning agent will come in 10 months afterwards and talk with the staff. How is the system running? And they'll have access to everything. They'll talk with facilities, and if set points need to be adjusted, you know, those things can take place, because maybe you're going to find that you know, because the building is so efficient that we don't need as much heat. What I would like to do, Ken, is at our next working group is, and I'll make Tyler aware, connect you with Tyler, right, our HVAC engineer. And if you've got some questions you want to forward along to help understand better, forward them along. And so when we have that meeting, we can certainly kind of get you in the fine tuning knowledge of the intent of how it's going to work, and what some of the, you know, the abilities are for adjustment.
okay. Yeah, well, this is helpful. This is bringing me along to understanding the design and I think really the robustness of being able to handle a number of different conditions with a fairly simple system.
Yeah, that's
Wayne,
the goal.
Yeah, my question is around training for the facility staff. It's great to have this complicated heating and cooling system. What training is there to put into place so that they can properly operate it and maintain it?
So Wayne, a good question. What we're going to do as part of the design is, at the end of the project, we provide the district facilities people with all the O&M, operating and maintenance manuals of everything that goes into this school, every piece of furniture, every light switch, etc. When it comes to operating the mechanical systems, we are going to have Tony and the facility staff trained. It will be videotape training. There will be a number of sessions on each piece of equipment, how it operates, how to maintain it. We will also include in our specification that the district has a number of additional hours, because we all know, and we've been through it, myself included, you learn how to do something, somebody shows it to you, they walk away, and then a week later, I know how to operate 80%, but I forgot this or I forgot that. So two things can happen. They'll have the ability to go back to the video. And what we want to be able to do is provide them with follow-up training down the road, and we'll set that. I believe we have a standard, but we can talk about what that standard time frame. Maybe it's 3 months, 6 months, or when we get into the next season of operation. So if we're opening this school in August, let's say, we're going to be in cooling mode. So the training is going to be part of the cooling mode, and they'll touch base on the heating mode. But maybe we also provide additional hours of training when we turn over to the heating mode and go through that. I do know that the contractors, the controls people, if you will, always have a back door to the system. So if the facilities guy people go in there and they make adjustments and they do this and they do that, and then somehow it gets out of whack, usually the controls people can get back in and set it back to its design standards and help correct things and help monitor things. One of the things that's always recommended is maintenance contracts, service contracts, etc., so that regular maintenance can be done. There will be the traditional maintenance training, how to change the filters, how to adjust belts, things of that nature. Anything that can and should be done by the district staff. The more complicated things, tend to fall on the people that are trained in those specialties. These are complicated, but there's adequate training. What we will do over the next few months is sit down with the maintenance people, Tony and his staff, and go through what's being provided. Talk to them about what their needs are, what they feel capable of doing and what they don't, and kind of cater that. But training will be, and not only for the training, the maintenance staff, there will be training for the administration on the phone system, the technology staff. Typically, you train the technology director and any of the people that are the go-to, and then they continue to train the entire staff. We can provide that for everybody. There's a sign-in sheet for scheduled training to make sure everybody that's gotten it has received it. It's all documented. And like I said, we try to specify follow-up. So at the very least, they'll have the operation manuals, they'll have numbers to call. And I'll tell you, Wayne, it's not uncommon that a year or two down the road, there's a problem. I get a call. Hey, Chris, we got this problem with one of the mechanical units, or this is happening. What do you recommend? Who should we call? Where should we look in the maintenance or the videos to get some sense? And myself and typically the contractors are a good point of contact to help kind of direct that until the maintenance people are used to, finding that information and kind of progressing along.
Two, my question then is, we talked about ongoing kind of preventive-based contract maintenance. I'm hoping the money we save in the operation will make up for the money I have to spend for these outside contractors to pull the service on this equipment.
Yeah, so do we, Wayne. No, Wayne's just saying if there's any budget savings, it'd be good if, that can be something you can utilize for operations.
Because right now, let's say that I'm allocating, X amount on maintenance on Green Meadow, and it's at a minimum for the obvious reasons. We can't pour too much money into it. Now, because we have these new sophisticated systems, I have to hire outside contractors periodically to come in. To me, that's could be an additional financial burden. And, I don't know if a like building or like system somewhere else, if I could get an idea as to kind of what to expect so I can budget, because, I don't want to be hit out of nowhere with this, that I got to pay $30,000 a year for PM guys to come out and look at the systems.
Yeah, we can look into that, Wayne, for you.
Yeah.
Josh?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Wayne, I want to make sure that I understood what you were asking. The utility costs are, I almost guarantee, not going to go down. It's going to be a very efficient building, but we're going from a building that's not air conditioned to one that is. So, and it's just a way more equipment in it. So I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chris and Phil, I don't think you're going to see savings or reductions in cost. But what might be advantageous to us to help ease the burden or transition into that financial burden is to look at some extended warranties, extended service contracts as part of the project.
That is an option. When it comes, Josh, when it comes to utility costs, it varies district to district and how they use the building. Granted, Green Meadow doesn't have the air conditioning and some of the equipment, but it also has a very inefficient envelope, and you're spending more in burning fuel for your boilers or lights because they're old. They're not, LED and efficient systems. So it really has to go district to district, and it really is based on how you use the building. I believe Brian had mentioned this building will get used throughout the summer. I know Eversource does require at least 4 weeks use in order for them to get, participate in the rebate program. But you're going to have the most efficient systems we can provide. You have an efficient envelope. It'll come down to how it's used. Whether people are leaving the lights on overnight, not the programming and things of that nature, the set points and everything that goes along with it. But you're right. You look at warranties. If there's something we need to do to extend certain warranties, we'll certainly talk with you people as well as facilities. Where should we include that for a longer warranty in the base project? And then how do you get the extended on the back end? All things we'll need to look at going forward.
What are you saying, Nick?
Say I was on mute. Yeah, I think just a little thing about what we're just talking about too is I think Wayne's talking about like the other ongoing maintenance he does in the building, keeping an older building together are costs that might not be needed on a building that's brand new, and that's where he's going to save some on the first part of the project, and hopefully that helps training and get us up to speed, and we work the building well, and we figure out how to make it run efficiently. That's always what's nice about a new building is you don't have to, you shouldn't have to fix anything right away. Okay. Yeah. Do we have any other new other business? I don't know that we do after this. It's one of our longest meetings in quite a while. Looks like nothing. So our next meeting date, on July 8th, everybody stay ready. Yeah. I guess we look for the favorite motion at the end of the meeting.
So moved.
So moved. So
I can
seconded.
second.
Thank you. You guys are popular tonight. All right, closing.
No, hungry.
Yeah, yeah. No cavities then? You can eat, Jerry? You're all set?
I can,
Excellent.
yes.
Good for you.
Thank
Justin DeMargo.
Yes.
Thank you. Krista Silva.
Yes.
Mary Branley.
Yes.
Mike Stevens.
Yes.
Jen Gaudette.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Wayne White.
Yes.
Jerry Colbert.
Yes.
Mark Anderson.
Yes.
Anthony Madej.
Yes.
Matthew.
Yes.
Here. Yes. Myself, Nicholas Kane. Yes. Ken Newhauser.
Yes.
And Mr. Morse.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everybody. It's been good.
Good meeting tonight.